Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, you're invited to drift softly through the pages of the past, to step gently into a world long forgotten, a world where the day begins with the crow of a rooster and ends with the hush of a candle flickering beneath a sky full of stars. This is the story of a single day, a quiet day, a peaceful day, a day in the life of a simple, honest soul, a medieval peasant whose life is calm and ordinary, yet filled with rhythm, meaning, and silent beauty. He sleeps lightly beneath a coarse wool blanket, while the chill of early dawn seeps in through the cracks of timber walls. A hen rustles softly near the hearth, its feathers fluffed in the lingering cold. The smell of ash and yesterday's stew still lingers in the air, faint but familiar. Outside, the first light begins to glow behind the trees, casting long shadows over the thatched rooftops. Birdsong breaks the silence. First, a single note, then a chorus of morning voices, chirping gently from the hedgerows. He stirs, not with an alarm, but with the rhythm of the land. The earth calls to him. The soil, the seed, the season, they govern his every breath. He stretches slowly, scratching at his beard, rising without hurry. He knows there is work to be done, but the sun has only just begun its climb. His name is Edric, a name passed down from his grandfather, a name that carries no fame, but is known by every neighbor in the village. Edric steps onto the cool dirt floor, his feet calloused and strong from years of walking fields and forest paths. He reaches for a linen tunic, simple and worn, its threads softened by time and toil. He pulls it over his head, tightens a braided wool cord around his waist, and breathes in the stillness of the room. The hearth is quiet, the fire reduced to faint orange embers. Beside it, a clay pot sits atop a blackened iron hook. He lifts the lid slowly, letting the scent of barley, onion, and dried herbs rise into the morning air. Last night's pottage, thick, salty, and satisfying. He dips a wooden ladle into the pot and pours it into a small bowl. No need to reheat it. The warmth of habit is enough. Sitting on a rough stool near the fire's edge, he eats in silence, chewing slowly, gazing out a narrow opening in the wall, a window of sorts, though there is no glass, only an oiled cloth pulled aside. Beyond it, the sky is turning a soft blue, hints of gold stretching across the hills. Mist clings low over the earth, hovering above the pasture like a sleeping ghost. It is going to be a cool day, good for working. He finishes his meal and wipes his mouth with the sleeve of his tunic. Then he stands, gathers a cloak from a peg on the wall, and steps outside into the waking world. The village is quiet, just the sound of birds and the distant bleating of sheep. Chickens dart between huts, pecking at the ground. A dog barks once, lazily, then returns to its curled position beside a wooden door. Edric walks past low fences woven from hazelwood, past bundles of firewood stacked beneath overhanging roofs. He nods to a neighbor, old Wulfric, who is already out with a hoe, tending the earth behind his cottage. "Good day to you," Edric calls out. "And to you," Wulfric replies, his voice thick with age, his eyes squinting into the morning light. They do not stop to talk. There is work to be done. Conversation can wait for evening. Edric makes his way to the edge of the village, where his small field waits for him. It is a patch of land, not large, but enough to feed his household. Oats, barley, beans, and sometimes flax. He works it alone most days, though sometimes neighbors lend a hand. The earth is damp, still clinging to the night's cool breath. He plants his feet firmly and begins to turn the soil, his wooden spade cutting through the earth with practiced rhythm, each motion steady, each breath a part of the morning. Overhead, clouds drift slowly, soft and full like sheep on the horizon. The breeze carries the scent of dew and straw. A skylark rises from the hedges, its song piercing the quiet. Time passes unnoticed. The sun climbs higher. A bell rings in the distance from the chapel at the village center, calling the faithful to midday prayers. Edric pauses, rests his hands on the handle of his spade, and wipes his brow. He is not a devout man, but he respects the sound. He takes a moment not to pray, but to breathe, to listen. The land is alive around him. Every tree, every stone, every furrow in the field, it all tells a story. The land is alive around him. Every tree, every stone, every furrow in the field, it all tells a story. A soft wind brushes his cheek, carrying the scent of grass and something deeper, older. He steps through the damp morning, his feet bare against the cold soil. Each blade of grass bends beneath him, then slowly rises again, as if breathing. A bird flutters from a low branch, its wings whispering through the still air. It disappears into the gray light, leaving silence in its place. He stops beside the great oak, the one that watches over the edge of the field. Its bark is rough beneath his hand, warm from the night's memory. He rests there for a moment, eyes closed, listening. The world hums gently. No voices, no words, just the hush of wind, the beat of wings, the breath of earth. A cow moans softly beyond the hedge. He smiles. They are waiting. They know his steps, his scent, his presence. He walks on through the soft hush of the pasture, where dew still clings to each leaf. The grass parts for him, then folds back, quiet as sleep. He reaches the gate. Old wood, weathered silver by years of rain and sun. He lifts the latch. It creaks, not loud, but familiar, a sound that belongs. The cows look up, tails swaying slowly, eyes calm and deep. He greets them softly, a low murmur, just enough. One comes first, the oldest. She leans into his hand, and he strokes her neck. She has known no cruelty, only rhythm, only care. The others follow, slow and quiet, like thoughts moving through mist. He walks among them, checking hooves, brushing off bits of straw. Their warmth surrounds him. Their breath is sweet. They are calm. They are content. And so is he. He opens the gate wide. The cows begin to move, their steps heavy but unhurried, toward the grazing field where the grass is thick and untouched. The sun rises behind him, not fast, not sudden, just steady, soft. He watches the light spill over the hills, touching the thatched roofs, the trees, the folds of the land. His world is small, but it holds everything. He lifts the wooden ladle from the clay bowl beside the fire. its handle worn smooth by years of morning meals, and dips it gently into the steaming broth. The ladle rises, filled with golden warmth, steam curling upward like soft breath in winter air. He watches it for a moment, then brings it to his lips, carefully, as if the liquid holds something sacred. The first sip is quiet. It speaks of onions, of herbs picked by hand, of roots pulled from the soil just yesterday. It speaks of care, of time, of patience. He closes his eyes as he swallows. The warmth spreads slowly down his throat, into his chest, settling in the hollows of his bones like sunlight after storm. Outside, a sparrow flutters against the frost-dim window, its wings tapping gently on the glass, a rhythm that feels more like a memory than a moment. He opens his eyes and glances toward the sound, but doesn't move. The bird is gone. The silence returns. The hearth crackles beside him, its flames low but steady, painting, shifting light across the wooden walls. Each flicker glows soft, then fades, then glows again. He leans closer, adding a log from the neat stack at his feet. It rests for a breath, then catches, a tongue of orange curling around its edge. The fire grows, not wildly, but with purpose. It knows its place. He sips again, another mouthful of warmth, another pause in the ticking morning. A kettle hums above the flame, not boiling, not yet, but whispering of tea still to come. Its lid rattles gently like a lullaby with no words. The wooden floor beneath him creaks as he shifts his weight, a sound so familiar, so deeply woven into this house that he barely hears it anymore. Above, the rafters hold still, dust sleeping in the corners, beams bent not from burden, but from time. He sets the ladle down, resting it carefully beside the bowl, and wipes his fingers on the cloth that always waits on the edge of the stove. Each motion is slow, measured like part of an old song. He doesn't need to remember because it lives in his hands. The sun has not yet touched the hills, but the darkness is softening. The stars outside are fading, one by one, their work done for the night. He steps toward the window, places one hand on the cold sill, and peers into the gray before dawn. The world is still, blanketed in silence and frost. A single tree stands at the edge of the field, its branches bare, but not lifeless. Each one holds quiet promises of what spring will bring. He breathes in slowly, letting the cool air fill him, holding it for a moment, then letting it go. His breath fogs the glass, briefly hiding the view. Then it fades. The world returns. He turns from the window, his footsteps soft on the worn floor, and moves toward the chair where his cloak hangs, waiting. The fabric is thick, rough spun wool, dyed the color of faded bark, and when he lifts it from the hook, it carries the scent of hearth smoke and winter air. He drapes it over his shoulders, pulling it close at the neck, then reaches for the simple leather boots resting by the door. One at a time, he slides his feet in, pressing them firmly down until they settle into place like puzzle pieces long known. A gust of wind murmurs at the doorframe, soft and hollow, as if the day is sighing awake. He unbars the door, a thick wooden plank lifted from its cradle, and eases it open just enough to let himself slip outside. The hinges creak, not loud, but with a voice of their own, a memory of every morning they've greeted before. Outside, the chill greets him like an old friend. It wraps around his hands, nips gently at his cheeks, and touches his eyelashes with the breath of ice. But he does not flinch. This cold is part of life, woven into the hours like thread through linen. He steps onto the path, his boots crunching softly on the frost-hardened earth. Each step leaves a mark, but not for long. The wind, when it comes, will erase it with care. The sky above is pale blue now, rimmed with the softest blush of gold. Clouds drift slowly, as if waking from a long dream, and the trees along the path stretch skyward in silence. He passes the old fence post, leaning slightly to one side, its top crowned with a delicate puff of snow that catches the morning light like crystal. Further on, the well waits, its stones crusted with frost, the rope stiff and quiet. He lays his hand on the edge, feeling the rough chill of the rock, and listens to the echo of water below. He does not draw from it today. There is water enough indoors, and the cold is sharp. Instead, he walks beyond to the edge of the woods, where the first rays of light catch on the branches and make them glitter like threads of silver hung in the air. Birdsong begins softly, one voice, then another, spaced gently apart, until the woods hold a quiet chorus, like the beginning of a lullaby not yet sung. He stands still, breathing it in, letting the sound fill the spaces inside him that no words ever could. Somewhere in the distance, a cart creaks, and the faint clip of hooves touches the air as another soul begins their morning. But here, at the edge of trees and light, he is alone, and it is enough. He kneels by the nearest tree, its roots twisted but strong, and places his hand against the bark. It is cold but alive. He can feel the heartbeat of the earth, slow and deep beneath the surface of things. For a long moment, he remains there, eyes closed, mind still. The wind brushes past, tugging at the hem of his cloak, pulling a few loose strands of hair across his cheek. He smiles, faintly, a smile no one sees, and lets the moment stretch. He rises slowly from the roots, dusts his knees with one soft sweep of the hand, and begins the quiet walk back toward home. Each step is measured, not rushed, as though he is walking through a memory too precious to disturb. The frost beneath his feet sparkles now, awakened by the sun's tender gaze. It catches the light like scattered stars, glinting along the footpath as if night left behind a trail to follow. A crow calls in the distance, its voice sharp but distant, echoing through bare branches that reach skyward like arms in prayer. He passes the low stone wall again, pauses to run his hand along the cool surface, feeling the lichen, the tiny cracks, the stories carved silently by time. Beyond it lies the pasture, still empty in this hour, where grass sleeps under a blanket of frost, and the old wooden gate swings lightly in the breeze. Its rhythm is slow, back and forth, like the breath of someone dreaming. As he nears the house once more, smoke still curls from the chimney in a lazy spiral. Rising into the morning sky, with no hurry at all. It smells of warmth, of safety, of every morning that came before this one. He steps inside. The door closes behind him with a soft thud, and the quiet folds around him like a well-worn cloak. The fire crackles in its stone cradle, casting amber light across the wooden floor, and beside it still sits the clay bowl, the wooden ladle resting within. He crosses the room, his hand reaching again for the ladle, lifting it with care, like holding a small weight of comfort. He pours a portion into his cup, steam curling upward, and sits on the stool carved by his grandfather, years and years before. The legs are uneven now, but steady enough. He takes a sip. The warmth spreads slowly, a gentle tide through his chest, and his shoulders soften with its passing. In the corner of the room, a loaf of bread waits, wrapped in cloth, still holding the scent of yesterday's baking. He breaks off a piece, dips it into the broth, and eats without sound. There is no rush, no ticking of clocks, no footsteps in the hall. Only the hush of firelight, the whisper of wind outside the wall, and the slow breath of a life quietly lived. After the meal, he stands once more, moves toward the window, and looks out again across the wide field, now golden with the rising sun. A few birds flit near the thatch, pecking along the snow, and a dog barks far in the distance, a small sound softened by air. He watches the sky change, from pale gold to blue, from hush to hum, as the village beyond begins to stir. He sees faint traces of others, a figure walking near the edge of the woods, a curl of smoke from another chimney, a cart's wheel cutting through the frost-hardened lane. But within his walls, within his slow breath, the world still feels like dream. He turns from the window at last, returns to the chair by the fire, and settles into it with a sigh that barely makes a sound. His eyes close. The warmth surrounds him. The day moves onward. But here, for now, all is still. The chair creaks ever so slightly beneath him, its old wooden joint softened by years of use, but still strong enough to cradle him in its arms. He leans back just a little, resting his head against the worn edge of the frame, eyes half closed. Breathing slow, the fire whispers, its voice low and steady, a language of warmth that needs no translation. Each flicker paints gentle shadows upon the walls, shifting and swaying like memories come to visit, not asking for anything, only staying for a while. He remembers other mornings like this one. Soft light through the window, bread and broth on the table, the feeling of time unrolling slowly like a scroll read aloud in a voice that never hurries. His hands rest on his lap, rough from work, but still capable of tenderness. They have held tools and timber, woven baskets, mended roofs, gathered herbs, and once a tiny hand that curled its fingers around his thumb. That memory returns sometimes, not with pain, but with a quiet weight that settles into the chest like a stone worn smooth by the sea. He lets it stay. Outside, the light continues to rise, washing the walls with soft gold, revealing tiny flecks of dust dancing in the air, their journey unseen unless the sun finds them. It always does, somewhere nearby. Oh, rooster calls, not the first of the morning, but no less proud in its cry. The world, little by little, begins to stir. He opens his eyes again, lets them roam across the room. There, on the far shelf, sits a small wooden box, its edges worn, its hinges darkened by time. He rises, crosses the room, and lifts it carefully. Inside, simple things: a scrap of cloth, a carved token, a feather, a dried flower pressed between parchment. Each item a story, each story a whisper of what once was. He holds the token, a smooth piece of ash wood, carved into a spiral. He turns it slowly in his fingers, not thinking, only feeling. Then he returns it to its resting place, closes the box, and returns it to the shelf. The fire has burned lower now, its flames tucked beneath the logs. He adds another piece of oak, watching the embers catch. The soft blue lick of flame at the edge, it warms the room once more, as though it too remembers the need for comfort. He sits again, not because he is tired, but because sitting feels right. The morning is not for rushing, it is for being, for noticing, for listening. Through the window, the village has begun to move. A child runs, scarf trailing behind like a banner of joy. Two figures speak near the well, voices too far to hear. But their hands say everything. The rhythm of life begins to rise. Cartwheels turning, footsteps in snow, doors opening, laughter carried on the wind. But inside, in this warm wooden home, time remains slow, not stuck, just softened. Like a loaf left to rise, it expands, gently, ready when it's ready. He reaches for the small broom by the hearth, sweeps a few crumbs from the floor, not hurried, just mindful. Every task is an act of care, not only for the home, but for himself. He opens the door again, lets the fresh air in, cool and bright, carrying with it the scent of pine and hearth smoke. He breathes it in deeply, lets it fill his chest, then steps outside, just far enough for the sun to touch his face. It is warm now, not summer warm, but the kind of warmth that promises spring will come. He closes his eyes, lets the light settle on his skin, and smiles. The path beyond his door is familiar, a gentle ribbon of earth pressed down by years of footsteps. Each stone along the edge has a memory, each bend a whisper of past days. And though the world beyond may change, this little lane holds fast, steady, beneath the soles of his worn boots. He walks slowly, not because he is old, but because the morning asks for slowness. The kind of pace that lets the heart catch up with the body, the kind that notices the way the frost clings to a fallen leaf, how a bird pauses just long enough on the branch of the elder tree before taking flight. He passes the low stone wall, moss-covered and lopsided, but beloved, it separates the garden from the lane, though, in truth, nothing in this village truly separates. Everything touches everything else, in wind, in voice, in memory. Further along, he sees the baker's chimney breathing soft white smoke, a signal to the waking world that bread is already rising. Heat curling through the ancient oven's bricks, the scent of yeast and ash and flour drifts gently on the breeze, wrapping itself around his shoulders like a woolen shawl. He tips his head politely as the baker's daughter opens the shutters. She smiles, not brightly, but kindly. The kind of smile that doesn't demand anything in return. They do not speak. They have spoken many times before. Sometimes words are not needed. Sometimes a shared morning is enough. He continues, the rhythm of his steps matching the quiet hum of the village. No carts yet, no clanging, only birdsong, soft thuds of boots on packed earth, and the hush of waking fields. He pauses beside the well, runs his fingers along its smooth stones, each one placed there by hands he once knew. He lowers the bucket slowly, listens to the rope groan a little, hears the splash as it meets the water below. Then, with gentle care, he draws it back up, drops of water glistening on the rope like morning dew. He doesn't drink right away. He watches the water settle, clear and still, before cupping it in his hands. The cold bites his skin, but it is a kind bite, a reminder that he is here, alive, present in the quiet now. The fields beyond the village stretch like a sleeping blanket, soft folds of brown and gold and green. Crows wheel lazily above them, not searching for anything, just moving with the wind. He walks a little farther, past the weaver's house, where threads of dyed wool hang like prayer flags across the fence. Blue, red, ochre, bone white, each color made from root, leaf, or stone, each a testament to patience, to knowing the seasons, to watching the world with the eyes of a student. He remembers when the weaver was just a boy, running barefoot with a reed flute, trying to charm the hens into dancing. Now the boy is a man, his fingers nimble and quick, but still, sometimes, he plays the same melody on quiet afternoons, just for himself. He turns back toward his home, heart steady, breath slow, the world holding him, not tightly, but surely, as a hand holds a stone warmed by sunlight, as a mother holds a memory. His gate creaks as he lifts the latch. The fire inside is still burning, still whispering its soft lullaby to the walls. He steps inside, places a new log gently onto the embers, and watches it begin to glow. The warmth greets him. So does the quiet, not silence, but something deeper, a kind of peace that fills the corners, rests on the shelves, waits in the rafters. He stirs the small pot on the hearth, thick with oats and wild honey, and pours it into a wooden bowl. He sits again, not in haste, but with gratitude. Outside, the village continues. The day opens its arms, and he, this quiet soul in his quiet home, smiles once more. The wooden bucket rests heavy in his hands, but he carries it with care. His boots soft against the damp earth beneath him. Mist curls along the edges of the fields, weaving slowly through the barley stalks, settling gently into every furrow, every ridge, as if the land itself is still dreaming. The morning sun has barely climbed the sky, its light still pale, its warmth still distant. But already the world hums with quiet life. Birds rustle in the hedgerows, their wings fluttering softly as they peck at the damp ground. Bees begin their slow patrol, drawn by the first hints of bloom. Along the borders of the garden, he bends low beside the wooden trough, pours the water gently for the pigs, their snouts twitching as they crowd around, grunting softly with morning contentment. He smiles, scratching behind one pig's ear as it leans in, muddy and warm, its eyes half closed in sleepy joy. The barn creaks as he steps inside, the smell of hay thick in the air. Chickens stir and cluck, some already scratching at the ground, others still nestled in the straw. He collects the eggs one by one, nestled deep beneath soft feathers, careful not to disturb the hens too much, whispering quiet thanks for each smooth shell that rests now in his woven basket. The day has begun in full, but the stillness remains. There is no rush, no noise, only the soft rhythm of chores, the gentle order of a life lived close to the land. Inside the cottage, his wife tends to the hearth, kneading coarse dough with strong, practiced hands. She hums beneath her breath a lullaby half remembered, soft as the smoke curling toward the chimney. He enters quietly, sets down the basket of eggs, nods once. Grateful, their eyes meet in silence, a language they've spoken for years, without ever needing words. She hands him a slice of bread, still warm, a touch of salt on the crust. He tears it slowly, chews with thought, his gaze lingering on the flames dancing in the hearth. There is peace here, not in the absence of labor, but in its steadiness, its honesty. Outside, the sky turns a richer shade of blue. A breeze stirs the treetops. The world is fully awake, and so is he. Heart steady, hands calloused, soul quiet. He steps once more into the day, ready for the hours ahead, guided by sun, by soil, by the quiet pull of duty woven into every breath he takes. He dips the ladle into the broth, lifts it slowly to his lips. The steam curls upward, soft and fragrant, like breath from the earth itself. He sips. The warmth flows down, filling his chest. A quiet hush settles over his body, like a woolen blanket drawn gently across his shoulders. Outside, the wind stirs the branches. The trees whisper in their sleep, and the fire within the hearth crackles low, its light dancing on the stone walls, in rhythm with the night. He leans back, closes his eyes for a moment, listens to the breathing of the house, the creak of old beams, the tiny scurry of something in the thatch above, the pulse of the living land around him. His thoughts wander to the fields that rest beyond the door, to the rows of wheat swaying in the breeze, to the soil beneath his feet, to the work his hands remember, and the seasons they have known. He sees them again. The warm spring mornings, the sweet scent of tilled earth, the first green shoots peeking through the brown. He remembers the call of birds, the hum of bees, the cool sweat on his brow, and then the summer, with its long golden days, when the sun hangs heavy in the sky and the air tastes of hay and dust, of ripeness and life. He remembers the reaping, the swing of the sickle, the grain pouring into sacks, the laughter of neighbors, the ache of muscles well used, and in the quiet of this winter night, he feels all those memories living still, tucked beneath the frozen ground, waiting. He opens his eyes. The fire has faded to embers, a soft orange glow, like the final blush of sunset. He rises slowly, places another log on the fire, watches as the flame catches, dances sings softly once more. He moves through the room, checking the latch on the door, pulling the wool blanket over the small wooden cradle, nestled beside the hearth, where a child sleeps, curled like a seed in warm soil. He smiles, brushes a hand through the soft dark hair, feels the warmth of tiny breath against his palm. The world is silent now, holding its breath, wrapped in the gentle hush of night. He returns to his stool, pulls his cloak tighter, leans back, and lets the rhythm of the flames lull him, the rise and fall, the flicker and sigh. Outside, snow begins to fall again, soft flakes spinning through the dark, landing on the roof like whispers, like blessings. He dips the ladle into the broth, lifts it slowly to his lips. The steam curls upward, soft and fragrant, like breath from the earth itself. He sips. The warmth flows down, filling his chest. A quiet hush settles over his body, like a woolen blanket drawn gently across his shoulders. Outside, the wind stirs the branches. The trees whisper in their sleep. The fire within the hearth crackles low, its light dancing on the stone walls, in rhythm with the night. He sets the ladle down, the bowl beside him still full. He doesn't rush. Each breath is long, each moment slow. The child shifts in the cradle, not waking, just dreaming. The soft sounds of sleep fill the room, gentle, steady, like a lullaby, sung by silence. He stands. His boots creak against the stone. One hand rests on the edge of the table, the other steady on his hip. He listens, not to anyone's sound, but to the quiet between them, that calm space where nothing moves, and yet everything lives. He crosses the room, his cloak brushing the edge of the bench. The fabric, rough and warm, still carries the scent of firewood and pine. He opens the door just a little. Cold air slips in, kissing his face, tugging at the edges of the warmth behind him. Outside, the snow glows pale blue beneath the moonlight. Icicles hang from the eaves, still as glass, catching tiny specks of starlight. In their frozen grasp, the village lies quiet. No footsteps, no lanterns, just stillness, just night. He breathes in. The air tastes of frost and ash and something older, like memory, like time standing still. He closes the door, not loudly, just enough to seal the warmth inside. Back at the fire, he adds another log. It hisses softly, then settles in, joining the slow dance of flame and ember. The fire crackles. The cradle creaks. The night holds its breath. He sits again, hands resting on his knees, eyes on the flame. The world outside is deep with winter, but in this room, time moves gently, quietly, like snow falling in the dark. He lifts the bucket from its hook by the door, its rim cold against his palm, frost clinging to the wood like tiny crystals. He steps outside, boots sinking into snow soft as down. The world is hushed, wrapped in white silence. Each breath forms a cloud that drifts and fades against the pale morning sky. He carries the bucket toward the well, traces the familiar path, lined with snow-laden hedges. A single footstep echoes in the stillness. At the well, he ties the rope to the wooden bucket, lowers it slowly, listening for water's welcome splash. Then he pulls it up, drops of ice flicking off into the air. He pauses to drink a handful of the clear, sharp water, a gift of the earth, the cold fire of it waking every vein. Returning inside, he pours water into a crock for washing, fills a bowl for the goats and another for the chickens. Each vessel brims with the morning's promise. Outside again, he walks to the goat pen, where two goats bleat softly as he places the bowl of water on smooth stones at their feet. They drink quietly, then nudge his hand for more. He strokes the larger goat's neck, feels the coarse hair under his fingertips, and hums a soft melody, a tune carried on every breeze that rattles the barn door. The chickens crowd around next, a flutter of feathers, beaks pecking at grain on the snow. He scatters handfuls into a hollow in the ground. They cluck and scratch in their simple, earnest way. He watches them for a moment, smiling at their easy contentment. Then he turns toward the woodpile stacked near the fence, each log waiting patiently for its turn in the hearth. He selects one, heavy with the scent of pine, carries it inside, places it beside the fire. Sparks leap up to greet the new offering. He passes the cradle where the child sleeps, a swirl of blankets nestled against the rocking wood. He leans close, brushing a lock of hair from a pale brow. His wife appears in the doorway, quiet as shadow, holding a basket of bundled herbs, sage, lavender, rosemary, gathered last eve. She offers him a sprig, tucks it behind his ear, and they share a glance, deep with years of wordless understanding. He nods, and she disappears again, as gently as she came. He wraps his cloak tight and steps back outside, draws in the breath of dawn, the scent of frost, the taste of new day. Beyond the barn, the fields lie vast and untouched, save for his footprints, leading toward the horizon. He follows them slowly, deeper into winter's hush. Each step is prayer, each breath a vow to meet the day with steady hands and open heart. Snowflakes drift down like soft secrets, settling on his cloak, on the field, on the world. He stands still, welcoming them all, his boots pressing soft indentations into the snow, each step measured and quiet. Above him, the sky has turned a pale blue, the clouds thin like old parchment, and the sun barely begins to peer through the trees, casting long gold shadows over the frost-laced ground. He reaches the fence that marks the end of the grazing land. There, he rests a hand on the old wooden rail, weathered by seasons and softened by moss. He gazes across the rolling hills beyond, the land stretching far and silent, with nothing but snow, stone, and slumbering trees. A single crow perches on a bare branch nearby, its feathers puffed, watching him with eyes dark as ink. They regard each other, man and bird, as if exchanging secrets only winter knows. Then the crow caws once, spreads its wings, and lifts into the pale sky, vanishing into the cold hush. He turns back toward the house. The chimney sends a thin wisp of smoke that curls into the air like a ribbon of memory. As he walks, he notices the prints he made earlier, his own trail now softened at the edges by the falling snow. Inside, The fire is still crackling. The child in the cradle stirs, making a soft sound, not quite a cry, more like a sigh caught between sleep and waking. He kneels by the cradle, places a hand gently on the swaddled chest, and hums a tune he learned from his mother, a melody old as the hills. The child settles, breathing slow and even again, tiny fingers curled into a fist, the faintest smile on a pink cheek. His wife, now seated by the fire, has begun to prepare a simple meal, onions and turnips, a handful of dried lentils, a sprig of thyme. She works slowly, carefully, her hands moving as though dancing. To a rhythm only she hears, he joins her quietly, chopping the roots, peeling them with care. They say little, for silence between them is not empty. It is warm, full, like the space between heartbeats. Soon the pot is bubbling again. The scent of thyme and earth rises with the steam. They sit close, sharing warmth, watching the flames move like golden water against the blackened stones of the hearth. Outside, the wind rises, soft at first, then stronger, rattling the shutters and brushing snow from the eaves. They do not flinch. This is winter's voice, familiar, enduring. They have heard it many times before. He stands, fetches a blanket from the peg near the door, and drapes it around her shoulders. She looks up, smiling without words, and pulls it close. Together they sit in the gentle silence as the stew thickens, as the baby sleeps, as the wind speaks its old songs outside, and time slows, not stopping, but settling into something soft and steady, like snow on the roof, like breath in the quiet hour before dusk. He sets the ladle down beside the bowl. The fire crackles again, gently, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat. In the stillness of the room, he leans back slightly. The wooden bench creaks beneath his weight. His hands fold over his stomach, warmth resting inside him. The last remnants of the broth cling to his tongue, savory and simple. A breath escapes his lips, long and slow, as if exhaling the day itself. He watches the flame, its tips flicking upward, chasing shadows across the low ceiling. Outside, the wind stirs again, a hollow rustle, like fingers brushing through dried leaves. The trees moan softly, their branches stretching in the dark. A barn owl calls out once, then silence returns. Deep and familiar. He listens, not with his ears, but with something deeper. The kind of listening that comes only at night, when the world is quiet and the body is still. The stone walls hold the day's warmth. Cool air presses at the door, but it does not enter. Not tonight. Tonight, the fire holds its own. The house stands quiet and firm, a shelter from wind, from cold, from the things that pass in the dark. He runs his fingers along the edge of the table, worn smooth by years of meals, hands, and stories. Each groove a memory, each scratch a whisper from the past. A single log shifts in the hearth, sending up a plume of sparks. He watches them rise, tiny fireflies that vanish before they land. He remembers being a boy, sitting just there, by the fire with his father, listening to tales of fields and forests, of storms and spirits, how the old man's voice rose and fell like the wind, how the flames danced to his words. Now, the voice is gone, but the stories remain. Buried in the wood, etched into the stones, he hums low and soft, a tune his mother once sang, the notes hardly more than breath. Yet they fill the room. They curl into the corners, warming them, softening them. The cat shifts near the hearth, its tail flicking once, then still. The coals glow deep red, a slow, steady light, like the sun beneath the earth. He rises, slow and careful, his joints stiff but willing. He moves to the window, pushes open the wooden shutter. The night greets him. The sky is heavy with stars, cold and brilliant. They shimmer above the treetops, silent, eternal. The moon has not yet risen, but its light brushes the horizon, a promise of its slow approach. He leans against the frame, breath clouding in the cool air. There's a hush that holds the land, a stillness so deep it hums, not empty, but full of sleep, full of dreams. He closes the shutter, latches it with care. The wind sighs against the walls, but it cannot come in, not yet. He turns back to the room. Its warmth welcomes him, familiar and soft. He takes the candle from the shelf, its wax pooled at the base, and lights it from the hearth. The flame catches, wavers, then steadies. He shields it with his hand, carries it across the room to the narrow bed tucked into the wall. He pulls back the woolen blanket, worn but clean, and sits. The mattress sighs beneath him. He swings his legs up, pulls the blanket to his chest. The candle flickers beside him. He watches it dance. His eyes grow heavy. The day drifts backward. The fire murmurs low, and somewhere beyond the trees, beyond the fields, night deepens and sleep begins. The moon rises slowly, casting a pale silver glow across the wooden floorboards. Its light slips in through the narrow window, falling in quiet stripes across the room, like fingers gently brushing the earth. The old man stirs beneath the blanket, pulling the wool higher beneath his chin. A soft breath escapes his lips, not from cold, but from memory. He hears the night, not just the sound of wind or wood, but the hush that only comes when the world is truly sleeping. It is the hush of the earth exhaling, the quiet peace that follows a long day, well lived. A branch taps against the pane, not hurried, not loud, just a single tap, then another, as if the tree itself were knocking, asking to be remembered. He does remember, not everything, not always clearly, but he remembers the warmth of hands held beside a fire, the crackle of bread toasting on iron, the way laughter once filled this same room, before time thinned it out. The candle on the table flickers, its flame dancing as if it too were dreaming. The walls glow faintly with its light, not bright, just enough to see by. He watches the flame. It sways gently, rising, falling, almost as if it were breathing in time with him. And in that moment, he is no longer old, not in his mind. He is the boy running across fields of morning frost, barefoot and laughing. He is the young man with ash on his arms, splitting logs as the sky burns orange behind him. He is the father bending low, carving a toy horse with patient hands, the smell of pine sharp in the air. All of that still inside him, not gone, just resting. The fire pops quietly. A single ember rises, glows bright. and disappears. He watches it go, without sadness, only with understanding. Outside, the wind moves through the trees. It rustles the leaves like pages being turned. A story still being told. One only the night truly knows. His eyes begin to close, slowly, like shutters drawn at the end of a day. His breath deepens, steady and calm. His heart, that old clock within him, keeps time with the rhythm of the dark. And in that stillness, in the quiet, between moments, he drifts, not away, but inward, to a place where morning waits, but not just yet, where dreams begin softly, like footsteps in snow, and where peace is not something found, but something remembered. He walks softly across the floor. The boards beneath his feet creak faintly, not from weight, but from memory. They have held many steps, some hurried, some weary, some joyful beyond words. His fingers brush the wooden table, polished smooth by time, by meals shared, by elbows leaned upon during laughter, by quiet hands clasped in thought. The surface still holds warmth, like the last breath of day, resting before sleep. The kettle hums low on the hearth, a gentle murmur, not yet a boil. He watches the steam rise, soft ribbons curling upward, twisting like smoke from a story. The scent of dried herbs floats in the air, lavender, thyme, and a hint of wild mint, fragile fragrances that settle into the corners of the room like dreams too shy to speak. He pours water into a clay mug, chipped slightly on one edge. The cup has seen seasons, been held by hands younger and older, hands now gone, and hands yet to come. He wraps his fingers around the mug, lifting it slowly, letting the warmth seep through skin, into bone. Outside, the wind brushes the grass in long, soft strokes. The field breathes with the rhythm of night, slow and steady. A lone owl calls once from the trees, its voice round and full. Then all is still. He sits near the window, watching the darkness fade at the edges. Not sunrise yet, but the idea of sunrise, a promise, folded in shadow. He sips slowly. The tea tastes of soil and sunlight, of leaves kissed by rain. Each mouthful tells a story, older than words, a language of warmth, spoken only in silence. The fire crackles low behind him, a lazy sound, not urgent. Its glow dances along the walls, playing gently on stone and wood, touching corners like fingers of memory. He breathes in deep, lets the breath go slowly. The world outside waits, but not impatiently. Everything still has time to sleep a little longer, and so he sits, cradled in quiet, wrapped in warmth, a thread of stillness, woven through the soft tapestry of night. Somewhere far away, a rooster stirs in its sleep, but does not call. The world is not yet ready to wake. Even the stars, though fading, still linger like children reluctant to leave a warm blanket. He leans back in his chair, the wood familiar against his spine. The breeze from the cracked window whispers through the room, light as a sigh, carrying with it the scent of earth just before dawn. It smells of roots, of moss, of secrets whispered underground. His eyes wander the shelves along the wall, where small items rest in soft dust, a carved bird, wings outstretched mid-flight. A faded letter, its edges curled by time. A smooth stone, cold and silent, yet holding the warmth of old pockets. Each item has a story, not loud or proud, but quiet. Tucked behind the silence like a smile, they are pieces of time, placed gently, never needing to explain their presence. He reaches for a woolen shawl, folded over the back of the chair. The fabric smells faintly of pine and firelight, and hands that once wrapped it around his shoulders. He drapes it over his lap, not for cold, but for comfort. The minutes stretch like thread, thin and golden. They do not rush. They do not tug. They simply pass, unraveling quietly into memory. The first birds begin to stir outside, not singing yet, just shifting in their nests. Wings press against feathers, eyes blink open in the hush. They feel the change in the air, not day, but the breath before it. A cat pads silently into the room, its paws soundless on the stone floor. It does not ask for food, does not seek attention. It simply leaps onto the windowsill, curling into a small circle, its eyes half-lidded with trust. He watches it, smiling faintly. They understand each other, companions of the quiet hour, keepers of stillness. A faint line of silver splits the sky, not bright, but enough to know the sun is coming, though it still hides behind the hills. The clouds above catch the light like lace, soft, delicate, and almost holy. He rises slowly, not from fatigue, but reverence. Each step toward the door is deliberate, as though not to wake the floorboards too suddenly. He opens the door. The world greets him with hush, the kind of hush that carries weight. Dew glistens on the grass, tiny beads that catch the first silver light like stars fallen to earth. The air tastes of mist, cool and round on the tongue. The trees sway slightly, no rush in their movement, no drama in their dance. They simply move because the wind asks them to. He steps outside, shawl around his shoulders, hands tucked gently beneath the fabric. His boots press softly into the damp soil, leaving shallow impressions that will fade with the morning sun. The hills roll out before him, endless and soft, their backs blanketed in shadow and light. He watches the line of light creep across the grass, slow and sure, painting the earth golden, one quiet moment at a time. A bird finally sings, just one note, pure and clean. It floats in the air like a drop of water in perfect balance. He closes his eyes. The sound, the breeze, the warmth from within, they all fold into each other. A lullaby in reverse, a waking dream carried gently into light. He opens the shutters a little wider, just enough to let the night speak. Beyond the cottage walls, the world is hushed. Moonlight slips across the fields like a veil, silvering the tops of wheat stalks, gilding the thatch of distant roofs. Somewhere a barn owl calls, soft and hollow, like a question with no answer. It drifts through the air, settles over the hearth, joins the rhythm of the quiet room. He sets his wooden bowl down, its sides warm from the broth, steam fading into the night air. Fingers curl around the edges of the table, not from need, but from comfort. The way one holds memory. A breeze filters in, carries the scent of earth and hay. of stone walls, warmed by the sun, now cooling under stars. He closes his eyes. He listens. And in the space between breaths, he remembers the sound of scythes sweeping through tall grass, the laughter of children chasing geese, the echo of a church bell calling the hour, all folded gently into the fabric of time. He does not chase the memories. They come as they will, like clouds drifting across a slow sky. Outside, the crickets begin their nightly hum, a low, steady chorus. The fire crackles beside him, each pop a quiet punctuation, a whispered syllable in the language of rest. He rises slowly, takes the iron kettle from its hook, pours warm water into a chipped basin. Steam curls again, not hurried now, but lazy and soft. He washes his hands, each motion careful and calm, like a ritual passed down from 1,000 nights. The water slips through his fingers, splashes into the basin, returns to stillness. He dries them on a cloth worn thin, folds it over the chair, and steps to the door. The latch lifts with a soft clink. The door opens. Cool air greets him, brushes his face, wraps around his shoulders like a shawl. The stars overhead are many tonight, scattered like grains on dark velvet. He breathes in the scent of pine and riverstone. He breathes out the weight of the day, slowly unwinding. He walks a few paces into the yard, boots quiet on the packed earth. The path is lit only by moonlight, but he knows every stone, every turn. The chickens sleep in their coop, huddled in feathered bundles. A dog sighs in the distance. He tilts his head upward. The sky is deep, endless. The stars do not rush. They simply burn. He smiles, not from joy, but from peace, a kind of stillness that doesn't need to be named. And after a long while, he turns back, steps into the warmth of home, shuts the door gently behind him. The latch settles. The fire greets him again, its light steady, its song unchanged. He lowers himself onto the cot. Blankets rustle softly. The straw-stuffed mattress sighs beneath him. Outside, the wind moves through the grass, telling old stories in a voice older than words. He closes his eyes. The world narrows to the rhythm of breath, the murmur of flame, the slow ticking of a wooden clock. Sleep comes not like a wave, but like fog, rising quiet and sure, wrapping every thought in velvet stillness. He wakes just before the dawn, while the stars still shimmer faintly in the sky, and the wind outside carries the scent of dew and wood smoke. The fire in the hearth now only a warm blush among embers, softly pulsing like the heartbeat of the home. He does not rush. He stretches quietly, feeling the pull of his limbs, the ache of yesterday still nestled in his joints, but not unwelcome, only a reminder that he lives and that he labored with purpose. Outside, the world is still wrapped in its slumber. Only the earliest birds call out to the morning. Their songs slow and low, like lullabies, turning into greetings. He walks to the window, pushes aside the wool curtain with a single hand, and peers out into the sleeping field. The mist clings low to the ground, silver and white, as if the earth itself still dreams. He places the kettle on the hook above the embers, adding a fresh log, and watches as the flame stirs to life once more, flickering like a memory, returning to warmth. When the water begins to sing, he drops a handful of dried mint leaves into the pot, the scent rising like a breath from summer past, bright, clean, comforting in its familiarity. He pours the tea into a clay cup, cradling it with both hands, letting the warmth settle into his palms, then sips slowly, eyes half-lidded, listening to the wind speak through the chimney stones. Each morning follows this quiet rhythm, unhurried, unbroken, like waves touching the shore in sleep. He steps outside, boots crunching softly on the damp earth, and breathes in the world. Cool, rich, alive, the chickens rustle in their coop, blinking against the coming light. He unlatches the wooden door, scatters feet across the ground, and smiles at their hurried bobbing heads. Further across the yard, the cow shifts within her shelter, lowing softly, a voice ancient and round. He strokes her gently along the neck, feeling the steady warmth of her, the peaceful pulse of her life beside his own. The sky lightens now, shades of lavender, rose, and gold unfurling above the treetops, a soft promise of the day ahead. He carries the pail of fresh milk back to the house, each step careful, measured, like a dance passed down from father to son. Inside, the coals have brightened. He slices bread left from yesterday, toasts it gently by the fire, and spreads honey across the surface, its golden sheen catching the light. Just as the first beam of sun slips through the window, he eats in silence, not because there is nothing to say, but because silence is sacred here, a gentle friend that asks for nothing. And when the meal is done, he rinses the cup, places the plate on the shelf, and sits by the hearth once more. Outside, the village stirs. He can hear the creak of wagon wheels, the soft voices of neighbors greeting one another, the bark of a dog in the distance. But within these walls, time still holds its breath, and for a moment longer, he is wrapped in the hush of dawn, held by the warmth of habit and the quiet song of a life well lived. The stars drift quietly overhead, each one pulsing like a heartbeat in the sky. Their light is old, older than the trees, older than the stones beneath the cottage, older even than the name of the land itself. A soft sigh rises from the earth. Maybe it is the wind. Maybe it is the night remembering itself. Or perhaps the world is simply breathing, breathing slow, breathing deep, like it too is ready for rest. Inside, the fire glows steady, its light flickering gently along the walls. Shadows stretch and curl, not menacing, but soft, like tired dreams slipping across the floor. The old man leans back, his eyes half closed. He listens to the sound of nothing, and in that nothing, there is everything. A cricket's chirp, a mouse's rustle in the thatch, the creak of the wooden beam above his head. Outside, a fox pads across the path, its feet silent on the mossy ground. It pauses, looks toward the house, its eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Then, with a twitch of its tail, it disappears into the underbrush like a thought half remembered. The wind rises slightly, not sharp, not cruel, but cool enough to kiss the edges of the leaves, to run a hand across the tall grasses, to hum through the keyhole like a lullaby. The cottage breathes. It is an old house, built with care, with stones carried by hand, from the river, each one placed with patience, each beam lifted with love. The kind of place that remembers your footsteps, that knows the weight of your heart. On a shelf near the hearth, a book lies open. The pages are yellowed, edges curled with time, but the words are clear, each line a thread in the great woven tapestry of the world. It tells of things forgotten, of kings who wept, of fields that sang, of stars that once fell just to be near the earth. The old man glances at it, but he does not read. He knows the stories by heart. They are not just ink on paper. They are memories passed down in quiet voices, in lullabies, in the hush of snowfall, in the hush of a breath before sleep. He closes his eyes. The warmth from the fire touches his hands. His chair creaks beneath him, settling into stillness. The night deepens. The stars turn slightly, as they always do, slow, silent dancers in the great sky above. Time moves like water here, not in bursts, but in ripples, gentle, unhurried, as though even time itself wishes not to wake the sleeping earth. And somewhere in the distance, a barn owl cries once, low and soft, not to frighten, just to say, I am here. The embers shift in the hearth, a faint crackle, like the whisper of silk on stone. Light dances across the wooden floor, golden and gentle, like sunlight filtering through autumn leaves. The night folds itself around the cottage, soft as wool, heavy as sleep. Each window reflects the firelight, holding it close, cradling it like a secret. In the loft above, the young boy stirs. He does not wake, but in dreams he hears the hush of trees, the murmur of roots deep beneath the soil. He dreams of wide meadows and tall stalks of wheat, of running, barefoot and free, the earth cool beneath his feet, the sky open and endless above. The mother lies nearby, her breath even, a faint smile resting at the corners of her lips. She dreams, too, of her own childhood, of songs once sung by a voice long gone, of hands braiding her hair by candlelight. The old man remains in his chair. He is not asleep, but his thoughts wander like the wind, gentle, tireless, threading through time. He remembers days when his hands were strong, when he split wood at dawn, built fences before the sun had dried the dew. He remembers her, the one with eyes the color of summer storms, who laughed like water over stones. He sees her still, in the curve of the kettle's handle, in the way the curtains flutter against the window pane, in the softness of the night air. Outside, the moon climbs higher. It casts silver across the hills, traces the river with light, turns each leaf into a glowing coin. A deer steps from the thicket, its ears alert, its breath misting in the cold. It listens, then bends to drink from the stream, each ripple carrying the hush of the forest. The trees sway gently, their branches stretch like arms in sleep, their trunks solid and slow. They do not speak, but if they did, their stories would be long, full of names forgotten, of winters endured, of birds that built homes and flew away again. A barn door creaks softly on its hinge. Inside, the cow shifts in her stall, snorting once, then settling again. The hens rustle, a few cluck in their dreams, their feathers fluffing beneath the straw. Even the mice move slower now. They're scurrying, has softened, as though the night has asked for quiet, and they too have obeyed. Back in the cottage, the clock ticks once, twice. Its hands barely move, but they mark the passing moments, each one a step deeper into stillness. The boy sighs in his sleep. The mother turns slightly. The old man hums a low tune, just a thread of melody, no words, only feeling. It is a tune from long ago, taught to him beneath a tree that no longer stands, sung by a voice now folded into the wind. But the tune remains, simple, steady, like a river that never forgets its path. The fire sinks lower. Its glow is softer now, but still it warms the room. Still it guards the silence. Outside, the world rests. No footsteps on the path. No voices in the dark. Only breath. Only hush. Only the gentle lull of night. The stars hold their places. The moon listens. The sky, vast and old, watches over the sleeping earth. And in this moment, nothing is missing. Nothing is urgent. All is as it should be. Still, quiet, whole, of places too far to see, of voices long faded into mist, of footsteps that once pressed the same soft earth beneath them. The old man turned slowly, his voice no louder than a breeze. "When I was young," he began, "the nights felt longer and the stars seemed closer." The child did not speak, only tilted his head, waiting as the hush of twilight wrapped around them. "There was a field," the old man said, "not far from here, past the bend in the stream, where wildflowers grew without end." He smiled, not at the child, but at a memory. His eyes didn't blink, just drifted, like they were walking those fields again, barefoot, beneath a sky untouched by worry. "I used to run," he whispered, "just to feel the wind chase me. I would laugh without reason, lay in the grass until the clouds fell asleep." He paused, a long breath, slow and steady, the kind that sinks into the bones. "And sometimes," he added, "I thought the world would never change." But his voice wavered just a little, like a leaf trembling on a quiet branch. Before it lets go, the child leaned closer, hands folded in his lap. He wasn't afraid, because there was no fear here. Not in this place, not in this hour. Only the hush, only the stillness. The stars were arriving now, one by one, as if shyly peeking from behind veils of silver cloud. The sky had turned the color of ink, not heavy, not cold, but deep, endless, welcoming. Far in the distance, a bell chimed, not loud, just enough to remind the world that time still moved, even if no one noticed. The child looked up. "Did you ever go back?" he asked. The old man shook his head. A small smile danced at the edge of his lips. "No," he said. "Oh, I didn't need to." His gaze lifted to the sky. "It lives here." He tapped his chest. In the quiet, in the waiting, in the remembering, the fire they had built earlier that evening crackled softly between them, its glow warm like a sleepy heartbeat, not wild, not bright, but calm, content. A moth drifted near the flame, circling once, then twice, before fluttering away into the dark. The child's eyes grew heavier, not with sorrow, but with the gentle pull of rest, the kind that comes when a soul feels safe. The old man looked at him, placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "You don't have to know everything now," he said. "There is time, so much time, for learning, for walking, for remembering your own field someday." And the child nodded, not quite awake, not quite asleep, somewhere in between, where dreams wait patiently and the night keeps watch. A soft breeze stirred the grass nearby, gentle as the sigh of someone just falling asleep. The trees no longer rustled with excitement, but murmured low, ancient songs, songs made not of words, but of memory. The child lay back slowly, his small hands tucked behind his head, his gaze fixed not on the sky now, but on something unseen, just beyond thought, beyond time. The old man did not speak for a while. He closed his eyes, as if listening, not to sounds, but to silence, to the kind of silence that holds the weight of years, the kind of silence that speaks without needing a voice. There was a peace between them, unspoken, undemanding, a quiet understanding that nothing more was needed. Not questions, not answers, just presence. The stars above continued to bloom, as if the night were a great garden, and each spark of light a delicate flower opening in stillness. Some flickered, others glowed steady, like ancient watchfires burning from the edge of forever. "I once met a woman," the old man said at last, "long ago, in a village that no longer stands, beside a river that now runs dry." He smiled faintly, not with regret, but with warmth, like remembering a summer day from far away, but still bright in the heart. "She sang," he whispered, "but only at night, only when the moon was high and the children had gone to bed." His voice slowed, became softer, each word wrapped in velvet stillness. Her voice was like water, cool, clear, slow-moving through a quiet forest. He paused again, his eyes gently blinking, as if he could still hear her singing just beyond the reach of the wind. The child listened, not only to the words, but to the spaces between them, the way one listens to rain falling on the roof or leaves drifting on a pond. The fire crackled once, a soft pop, a little curl of smoke rising, twisting upward into the star-filled dark, then vanishing like a forgotten thought. "She gave me a feather once," the old man said, "bright blue, from a bird that no longer flies in these parts." He reached into his coat pocket, slowly, delicately, and pulled out a small bundle wrapped in faded cloth. With care, with reverence, he unfolded it, and inside was the feather, still blue, still whole, as if no time had passed at all. The child reached out, not to take it, but just to see it closer, to witness something that had lived in a story, and now rested in the quiet glow between them. "Some things," the old man said, "don't fade." Not really. They wait, they sleep, they remember for us when we forget. And the child nodded, his breath soft, his eyelids heavy, his thoughts beginning to melt into dreams. The feather shimmered in the firelight, its edges catching gold and amber and midnight, a small piece of a world long gone, but never truly lost. The night grew deeper, but not darker. The stars hummed gently. The breeze curled itself around them like a soft blanket, and all the world, for just a while, felt still and safe and endless. The fire now only murmurs, its last ember fading softly into hush. Outside, the stars drift slowly, as if even they have grown sleepy, their silver glow dimming gently across the endless velvet sky. And within that quiet cottage, our peasant's dreams now wander far, beyond the hills, beyond the trees, where time forgets to pass. The animals are silent, the tools rest where they were left, and the earth beneath hums a low and lullaby song, carrying the weight of sleep upon its warm and patient chest. And so, dear listener, this is where our tale must pause, just for tonight. The story stretches on, over tomorrow's hills, and under starlit skies, yet untold. But not now, not yet. Tonight, you've heard enough. Let the rest wait. Let dreams take over. Close your eyes. Breathe slow. Sleep well. And one night soon, when the fire crackles again, when the winds begin to whisper, we'll return, and I'll tell you the rest of the story. But for now, good night. Sleep, dear listener, sleep